Yep. Sorry for the dogs. I'm going to apologize now. All right. So we created this this organization for you guys to just go back to, and if you want, just send me a DM with your GitHub, and you can be added to the organization if you want to be, so you can add or edit or whatever. We're going to start with basically how to start a brand new server. So to start, we would want a brand new repository. So we're going to do web 35. We're going to play with dogs because they're fun. So to start with, you would name it, make sure it's green. You want to make sure it's public. You want to add a README file, a gitignore, and the gitignore you want to be for Node. The biggest reason why you have a gitignore and set to Node is so that like the Node modules folders do not get uploaded to GitHub, because it takes a lot of space and it's not good. For license, we typically choose an MIT, and that just means that it's open source for the most part. And then we create. And if you guys want to follow along, I don't think I'll go too fast, so you're more than welcome to follow along. So I'm going to clone this to my drive here. Whoops. All right, so there it is. All right, so now we have the basic. We have a gitignore, we have the license, and we have the README doc, and that's all that's in there to start with. We don't have a package.json. So there are two ways that we can create the package.json file. It's npm init, and then we can either do -y, which just answers all the questions automatically as yes, or we can do it just like that. And for right now, I'm going to do it like this so I can show you a little bit what goes in there. Let me bring this up a little bit. So the first question is the package name. Oh, wait, hold on. I didn't go into the folder, did I? Cancel. Nope. All right, now let's try that. Okay, so npm init. And the package name, that's fine with me, so I'm going to hit enter. The version, it is the first version, so we're good there. The description, API for dogs. The entry point is going to be my index page. No test commands right now. That's the repository link. Keywords I'm not going to worry about right now. Author, I'll go ahead and put my name. Oops. The license, MIT. And then this is the basic of your package.json, so it looks good. So we're going to say yes. And this is what we have. Very basic, very easy. So now what we're going to do is we have to start building it. So we're going to code index.js. That's one. I'm going to go ahead and close the package.json. But before we can go anywhere, we have to install some dependencies. So the first one is npm install Express. Is it Express or Express.js? I can never remember. Let me double check that.
I'm pretty sure it's just Express.
I'm pretty sure too. I always forget that.
Yeah, I think it's Express.
Yeah. Good. Let that install real quick. All right. So now we're going to go into the index file that we just created. And it's a lot like React, where you have to import items, except it's written slightly differently. I typed it right. So that's how we import the node module of Express, which will get our basic server information. And then we have to say that we want to call it a server.
Melissa, do you mind making all the text larger?
Oh, yes. How do I do that? Is it this one? Nope.
Control plus.
Control plus.
Yeah, it's not working. Oh, there it goes. Is that better?
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Ah, go away. Apparently I hit the wrong button there. Okay, so const server is Express. Because that was that. So now we said that this is going to be an Express server. Now we're going to let it know that we would like to, in our server, we're going to use express.json. So that it knows that we're going to be using JSON elements. Oh, I entered too many times, sorry. And now to spin up our server, we're going to have to say server.use. We want at the base level. This you will have in every single request. Rec and res, they are your best friends. So now we're just going to say, okay, I want to give a status of 200, meaning everything's A-OK. JSON, and we're just going to have it print quotes. Good old boring hello world. But one thing we haven't given it was a port. We haven't told it what port to use yet. So that's where this comes in. Port. And we're going to use 5,000 because why not? Tell it to listen up for that port. So we can have some sort of response in our console. Server is on port. The reason I wrote it this way is because we'll need it this way later on for deployment. I don't know why that's open. That's fine. So right now, according to our package.json, we don't have anything to tell us how to start it. So all we can do is just node index.js. And you can see that we're listening on the port. So if I go here, oh, wrong one. Nope, that was it. Host 5,000. We can see that it printed hello world. But you know what? I don't like hello world. So I'm going to change this to Lambda. I'm going to hit save. And just give this a little refresh, but it still doesn't say hello world. But it still says hello world, I mean. To fix this, we install, I'm going to close the server, and let's try to run it again and see if it updates. And the reason it does that is because we need to install one thing. Install NodeMon as a dev dependency. So we have to do capital D or dash capital D. So we'll install that really quick. Close this so it updates.
That poor dog.
No, it's the other two dogs are started playing, and Lucy's like, you guys gotta stop playing, you're not including me. But yet when they try to, she doesn't want to play. All right, so NodeMon is now installed. However, to get it to use Node, NodeMon allows us to run the server, and every change that we make to the server is automatically updated. So we don't have to hit refresh or anything like that. Okay, so in order to use it, we have to tell it in here. So we open up the package.json, and we're going to do server NodeMon index.js, meaning I want you to, when I run the script of server, I want you to use NodeMon on the index.js file. So now, if we run the server, npm run server, it'll look a little bit differently in the terminal. But what's nice about this is, so we're going to go ahead and refresh because I just started this up again. It says hello Lambda. We're going to do
Do hello Lambda students.
I like that. Hello Lambda students. I can spell right. Students. Okay, and then as soon as I hit save, you'll see that it restarts the server automatically here. And then over here, sometimes it does need a refresh, but you know that every time you hit refresh now, it automatically did those changes. The really nice thing about this is I forgot to do, say, this. I hit save. it crashed. But it's technically still running because as soon as I put that back in and hit save, it just restarts back up again. So anytime you do something that it doesn't like, it tells you. And if it breaks it, it tells you. And then all you have to do is just find what where it broke, and in here it would tell me that there was something wrong right here. And you can see it kind of highlighted it. Hey, there's no closing quotes. And that's what broke. So now we have a basic server up and running. Very boring, but it's there. What do you think, Brian? Should we do a quick break or nothing or anything, or do a start with the gets?
I think that we probably should try to deploy it personally.
Okay.
Because I mean, we have a basic API. It's the minimum that we could deploy with. So
That is true. Okay, so we're going to do git add, git commit, basic server running, git push. That was bad and I didn't change branches. Probably should have. So to deploy, we go over to Heroku. Come on. We're gonna do a new one. Dogs API. Oh, I forgot it has to be lowercase. Dogs API. That one shouldn't be taken. There we go. All right, and we're going to create so we're going to choose from GitHub. And I'm going to choose the organization. I'm just going to do a quick search because it's easier than trying to remember what I called it. And this is the one we want to try to deploy. So we're going to connect. We want it to automatically redeploy every time we push to the main branch. So we're going to do that. And then we're going to tell it to deploy.
make sure to branch your current where you're at.
Yeah.
The pull request.
I'll do that while it does that. So git check out. We'll just do that. Okay, so it says that it was successfully deployed. So we're going to view. It's not deployed, but we saw that it was on our end. So there's a very important line that we have to add to our package.json.
Well, we also need to do one other thing. We need to actually push it.
Push what?
We haven't pushed our changes.
No.
So the repo is still
Huh?
yeah, the repo is still the basic repo.
Is it? Oh, wrong one. No, it's there.
Okay, I just missed that we pushed it.
Yeah, because I was on main. I was an idiot.
Okay.
All right. So another very important script to add is, oops, start. We want node index.js. So that means we're going to be using, it's a node application, and that's the entry point. Okay, so we'll go ahead and we're going to go ahead and switch back really quick. Git checkout. Git push. Add it first. Start script. And we're going to push that back up to main. Hey, stop that. Thank you. Okay, and we're going to head back over to Heroku over here. One really nice thing about Heroku is on the overview page, you can see right here that it's building. It says it hasn't deployed it yet, but you can see a log of the activity. So as soon as that says that the build is succeeded and deployed, we know we can open up the app again. Okay. It's taking an awful long time.
Yeah, first time they spin up is usually pretty slow.
Mm-hmm.
Give it a couple of minutes.
So why Heroku and what are some alternatives?
Ooh, that's a good question.
So I'd probably say Heroku is one of the easier ones to use. Their interface is fairly straightforward and easy. There's also some other benefits with the way that they've integrated in PostgreSQL. So once we've actually got something where you have persistent data, which we're not even covering until like 2 weeks from now anyway. Oh, it looks like that blew up, but.
Yep, but I know why, so that's okay.
So the
logs over here, we're gonna look to see what it says. And you can see it says it crashed. It said it started it, but then it crashed because it doesn't understand that I gave it a port. Heroku does its own ports. So we have to do one more step. So npm install. I don't remember what it was called. Go ahead. Sorry, Brian.
So on Heroku, it's mostly just a fairly easy way of getting one of these to deploy. There's other companies that you can go through to make this deploy. Amazon, Azure from Microsoft. Technically, you can get them to deploy with almost anything. Even I've seen people launch them with Vercel and things like that. But they're just every single one of them has a different way of handling data persistence. Just Heroku seems to have the easiest one to get data persistence working with.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of nice to have a little bit of consistency instead of saying, hey, everybody just use whatever you want. And, you know, it just makes it a lot easier when everybody's kind of on the same page is the biggest thing.
Okay, thanks.
But technically you could technically serve this off of your own personal computer if you wanted to. It just, you'd have to figure out a way of poking a hole through your router and figuring out how to update whatever IP address you have and all kinds of stuff. It just turns into a nightmare.
Basically. All right, so in order to get it to really run on Heroku, we have to tell it to use its own environment variables. But we don't want to not be able to run locally either. So we do this instead. We're going to require, I don't know what it did there. try that again. Fire dot env. That says that we're going to use environmental variables. And then down here, we'll just console log that out for now. We're going to say, all right, so I want you to use the EM and the environmentals from Heroku type of thing, or port 5000. Now we just need to readjust our server listen. Oops. So that it knows to use either or. Oh, actually, no, I really don't need to. That was my fault. I don't know why I did that. Same thing. We just need to adjust this line. So I'm gonna cut that. We'll just uncomment that. Okay. So now, npm, let's get Lucy, will you stop? Let's edit v. Okay. Go back to the overview here. And you can see that after our last push, we now have this thing in here. It reads the start script. All right, so let's see if it worked this time. And this time it did. It printed it in nice JSON for us, but now we're up and running. So now we've got our first app up there and deployed, and we even debugged a little bit. But these logs over here are very important at times. You can see that it created its own port right here. And usually you can, I don't think it'll let you log up too much. No, but you can usually get a full log through some CLI commands. Okay. So let me see. What do you think, Brian?
Four.
You want to just keep going?
I don't know. Song, you want to keep going or you want to take a break for like 5 minutes?
Keep going.
Okay. I say we keep going and start playing with a Git. See if you can post that server, the server up, and everybody should be able to get a hold of that.
The link, you mean?
Yeah, just grab that link and then send it over in Slack, and then everybody should be able to get to that.
Correct.
At least I think. I'm going to click on it. Yep, I got Hello Lambda students.
Okay.
So, do you want to just show them Postman, doing a quick Git on Postman now, since we're already at that point? Because like all a web browser it does is just gets.
Correct.
So all we need to do is just show off the most basic functionality of Postman.
What I wanted. Should have Postman open already.
Yeah, that would do it.
It's all right. It'll take a second. It'll open. And I know some students use Postman in the browser. I would highly recommend having it downloaded onto your computer, because then you don't need the internet necessarily, because you can do the local host part of it. Doing it through the browser can cause problems, I've heard.
Yeah, the actual client application is so much better as well. I don't think you can do documentation with the browser version, but you can with the client version.
Yeah, the browser version directs you back to your client version. My only problem is it takes forever to open up some days. Let me close these extras open. So open up a new one. And we're going to put the URL for the new API, and we're just going to do a simple GET request. It prints it out right there. And it will also work if I do. I'll do one over here. Local host. You can tell I've been to this one a few times. And we're going to do just a local host get. And it should show the exact same thing. That's the one nice thing I really like about Postman, that I can test everything right there. So to start adding to our server, so we can actually pull something useful. Let me split this real quick. Leave that guy running. Lambda, lab, 4. What did I call this again? Web 35. In order for this to work with the front end, with a front end React, we'll just go ahead and download the node module for that right now, because we're going to eventually need it. And I know we are, because that's how we want to eventually build it. So we're going to do npm install course. Without that, you cannot connect it to a React app. I'm pretty sure, let me double check.
You'll get CORS errors.
Oh, yes.
You'll notice once it was done installing those packages, it also redid the nodemon. So it reloaded the server with that new package already ready to go.
Yep, which is awesome. So now we need to come up here and we need to tell it that, hey, we have to import it first. So we're going to go, and I usually do it. Where is my .env? So after Express, after Express, we're going to say, hey, we're going to use CORS here. So we're going to require CORS. But then we have to say, okay, server, use CORS. So we imported it, now we're going to use it. I'll save that, and it shouldn't change anything here. It should still keep it up running fine, because we didn't actually add anything. So let's add some data to our server. We're gonna do, I do this right. We're gonna do some dogs, and we're gonna put them in an array. And we're gonna give it an ID of 1. It's the first one. We're gonna call them, let's do different breeds. I'm gonna do a German Shepherd. I can spell shepherd right. There. And why not? Let's display an image. Image. I think I have one already pulled up. This one. Anything else you want to add?
That'd probably get us pretty far. I usually would generate a UUID for my ID just to make it a lot easier. That way we don't have to keep track of ID numbers. Do you want to do that?
I can't remember how to do that one.
All right. Do MPMI UUID. And so what a UUID is it's a relatively impossible to duplicate unique identifier, like statistically impossible, kind of like, hitting a rock with another rock when you're throwing it across an ocean type of impossible. It can happen, I suppose, given enough time. You'll find, the plate tectonics brought the two halves together, and then people were still throwing rocks at each other, and eventually something hit. I mean, like, it's astronomically huge.
It's just UUID, right?
Yeah, I think you just import UUID, but I usually do V4. So V4 is not a default, but try UUID first. I think it's just UUID.v4.
On this side?
No, you're fine.
Okay.
But when you actually call it, so like on the ID1 is just going to be UUID on the instead of 1. Nope, it's just ID. But you do UUID.v4 and then parentheses, you invoke v4.
Like that? And then in parentheses you said v4?
Yep.
Okay. I don't need to use it, right? You can just call it that way, right?
Yep. Well, you don't have to put v4 on the inside. It's just invoke it.
Oh, my bad.
Like that. And so what that'll do is that'll give you a unique identifier for your ID instead of having to figure out if you need to update ID or figure out, however many items are in a list and then replace it or whatever. It's just so much easier. It'll just have a much longer name than 1, 2, 3, or 4.
Gotcha.
But it'll work the same.
Okay. All right. So we're going to just make a comment here. This is called seed data, as in it's data that's pre-programmed or hard-coded in to be there automatically. And you can have as much as you want there, but we're just going to have the 1 because that's enough for now. All right. So now we're going to do a backend GET request. So we're going to do server.get. We want it at the base URL. Our friendly rec and res. We're not so friendly in some cases. And we're just going to say,
do you want that at the dogs or do you want that at root?
oh, yeah, I wanted that at dogs. My bad. Thank you. All right. And there's many different ways to do it. I'm just going to do it this way because it's the simplest way without all the other pages. We're going to say, I want you to try and to get a res status of 200. I'm going to try to find all the dogs. Oops. And if you can't, tell me res status 400 or 500, sorry.
That auto-corrected the status message.
What's that? Dang it. Thank you. I don't know why it did that. All right, and now I'm usually pretty good about my messages because I like to know what's going on. So we're going to do error message. And we're going to say something is, no, wait, what did I want to say? Can't get dogs. Not get dogs.
You've got too many R's on your error.
I do, don't I? Thank you. Well, it would have worked, but would have looked funny.
The error was an error.
All right, nope, not that one. I'm going to go to Postman. Let's make sure we're still getting at the base URL. We are. Now we're going to try at dogs and see what we get. So we got an ID, we got the breed of a German Shepherd, and we got that image link that I put it in there. So we know that that's working. Did I ever switch this back? No, I didn't. Oh, it's not going to let me know until I commit it.
Actually, you can switch branches anytime you want and still commit the changes because it'll follow your checkout. I think you had a capital cred.
Yeah, it's going to make me change.
I think it was all caps, CRUD.
Yeah, because I'm a dork.
Yep. So now we can do a pull request and see that it had updated on the server automatically. So we're basically completely done.
It didn't save it. I got to go back to the other one.
What do you mean it didn't save it?
No, my index, it didn't transfer it over.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's because we didn't rebase it.
That's all right. That's okay. So there it is.
You can always push it into the correct branch.
This is true.
You're like, I don't want to do this, Brian. Just let me push to main. We can just continue to push to main for right now. It's not going to kill anything.
That's true.
But yeah.
So we'll push. Maybe. There it goes. Nope, this one. Mm-hmm. Next,
So
one question.
one of the big things, the reason why we always like to show a lot of deployment is like with I'm sure as React 2 you notice that you know, the back end didn't quite have things, you know, right away. If you go through and you push small changes and you can test it and you can say, hey, you know what, my React 2 person, hey, I've got login working, go ahead and try logging in. And they can give you feedback and be your tester to say, hey, this isn't working right. Can you change this? And you can change it before it becomes a huge jumbled pile of mess and fix things with your React 2 person. And you'll have more time to build it out because you're building out the features as React 2 needs it. and you're able to deploy instead of an entire back end, you're able to deploy just one small chunk at a time. So hopefully that'll help out.
Try that again. Looks. So now we can see that even the live version has that data that we pushed out. So
since we've got that, do you want to do a get checkout minus B and then do push for that one, for that branch name, because CRUD is kind of weird. Maybe.
oh, so get checkout.
Yeah, new branch and then just call it push.
I like it.
So now we can do the push on it, and then push the push branch to GitHub after we're done, and do whatever updates we need to. Go ahead and do. I'm going to do a git checkout origin main, and that way it puts our head back where it needs to be.
Talk about right now. Get checkout origin main, you said?
Yeah. Or not get checkout. Sorry, get pull. Jeez, I've lost my mind.
I was gonna say, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah, you need to get checkout main again, or get checkout pull, because I'm losing my mind. It's get pull origin main, but yeah. Let's see if I screwed it up. Losing my mind. All right, cool. So you're already up to date. But so like what I did was I did a get pull origin main on my system, and now I'm synced up with the latest on the server, on the GitHub server.
Right. All right. So now that we're getting all the dogs, we're gonna want to add one. So we're going to add new dogs. I like to put comments in here like this. I do it still to this day. Just literally so that I know what the following code is all about. You know, like right here, that's just seed data. That's going to get everything. Right here is going to be the new dogs. Now that was something that we just commented out, but I can also do spins up server, so that we know that anything below that is working to get the server up and running. Base. All right. Where is it? All right. So now we want to add a new dog. And, you know I've told some students here and there that a lot of the post requests, get requests, they look very, very similar between React and backend. There's just a few differences, and like one of the biggest ones is what it's talking to. But the basic structure of it is kind of the same. So we're going to do a post. Oops, I can spell. We want it to go to our dogs route at our friendly neighborhood rec and res. And we have to say that we're adding a new dog. So we want to set a new variable, or constant in this point. We're going to do new dogs, or new dog rather. And we're gonna set it to the body. So this can be done a couple different ways. I'm gonna do it this way, where I'm gonna say dog breed, as in if they don't have the breed, I want you to tell them they screwed up. Basically, this is saying that the breed is a required variable that they need to have in there. So if they don't have it, let them know. But I'm going to tell them what they forgot. So if they don't have that, just send them straight to an error message. And new dog. Dogs. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go through the list because we don't want multiple dogs on the list. So find all the dog breeds.
Roxy.
If it is not new.
Roxy.
Oops, that was supposed to be not new. I'm sorry. Not new. There we go. So, as in, if it's not a new dog, or if it is a new dog, sorry. New dog dot. Is it UUID here, Brian? Since we changed it to that, or is it just ID?
You'll do a
It's ID and then it equals UUID.
yeah. So like you're doing a new dog, right?
Yep.
Yeah, new dog.id is UUID. So that makes it so that the new dog object is going to have a new ID, and it's going to be UUID.
And we're going to tell it to push the new dog and send back a status message, a status code of 201. And you can just do new dog here. For testing purposes, I like to put messages in here as well.
Yeah, and on 41, you still need the .v4.
Ah, thank you. And then the parentheses, right?
Yep, because you're invoking it.
Thank you. I would have forgotten it. In fact, I did. Or it should be added. Sorry. We're going to go ahead and just do new dog as well. Okay, so if it's not in the list, then we're going to go ahead and add it. Otherwise, I want you to return a status of 400. And tell me why. And then we always need to have a catch. So we went through this whole list. We said, if it's a new dog, then go ahead and add it. If not, send us back an error message, and that would end that one. So this part, they added the breed, or they did all this, but something else is broken. So here's the catch for that. This catches anything else if the above doesn't work. Res status. This one's going to be the 500, meaning something's wrong with the server. Okay, so we'll go ahead and save that. And then before we ever push it to GitHub, we want to go over to Postman. We know we have this one, but now we want to add a new dog. So we're going to test it. We're going to change this to post. We're going to go into the body, change this to raw, and this to JSON, because we're always working in JSON. And we basically want to format it very similar to this, except without the array part. So we do this, and we want to have, well, let's, for example, let's just do image, oops, so I can spell, image URL.
Lowercase RL.
Thank you.
And it's very case sensitive, by the way.
Yes, it is very, very case sensitive. Go away. Controls, go away. And I pulled up another dog because he's cute. And I'm just going to add the image URL. I don't feel like naming because I can't remember what kind he is. We're going to go ahead and post it and see what happens. That's my first error message saying, hey, you forgot to add the breed. Oh, okay. Let's add the breed in. Lab. And now we're going to send it. So now it says, I should just change that to message instead of error, but it's okay. Added the new dog, and it actually gives me what I added. I added a URL, I added the breed, and there's that ID. So now if I go back to do a get, I should see both labs, or both dogs. Huh, for some reason it actually added it anyways. That's really weird. Oh, because it's not an actual server, that's why.
Luckily, after you save, it'll delete it anyway.
I know. All right. So
Once when we get into data persistence and actually use a real database, all of this stuff basically is essentially the exact same way that you would connect into that database, except you don't have to do all of the data management where you're having to add it, push it to array or pop it or delete it or whatever, filter. There's almost none of that necessary to make it work.
right. So I want the ability on my React app, when we get there, to just pull one dog out. Right now, I can't do that.
I know why that did it. I just saw it when you were scrolling. When on your ad, go to your post. Scroll down to where you have your try. You don't have an else. So it's if, and it's supposed to be returning, but it's already doing the try because it'll do the if and the try at the same time.
Oh, that's right.
Anyway, but normally you don't have to deal with this. This is all the this is all the wonderful world of not having the database, because that's way out of scope for today.
So I want to see right now if I can go ahead and pull like you would normally do on the React side. I want to see if I can pull this ID and just this one out. It sends me back this message, because it doesn't know what to do. So it just goes back to the base URL and says, okay, I'm just going to reply this because I have no idea what you're telling me to do. Because we haven't told it yet. So get so we're just going to pull back one dog. Server.get, it's another get request. Oops. Dogs ID. You will get so tired of typing rec and res, it's ridiculous.
And just to clarify, rec is request and res is response, or there's other words for it, but basically anything in rec is what you've been sent from the client. Anything that you want to send back is your response. So one side is data in, the other side is data out. All right, so I want to say that it's going to require some information before you can do the following, and it's going to require that ID tag. So we're going to find the dogs by ID and return dog.id. And this would be UUID, right? No, just ID. Return dog ID by whatever your param is.
Okay, which is ID. Okay,
Yep.
Remember. What am I doing? Okay, so we're gonna do, we found the dog. Dogs, find dogs by ID. So this is basically finding all the IDs up here. Down here, we found the dog with the ID. That's what we're trying to determine. So if we did not find the dog, or find that ID, status, we're going to send an error message. So if we can't find that ID, we wanted to return that message. Otherwise, we wanted to return the dog. Let's just spell JSON right. Found dog. Okay. And then, so we're going to go ahead and save that. Okay. So this should work now.
Except that you'll need to get again and get a different.
No, that's why I did it that way. So that was the idea of somebody that I added. So it can't find that dog. So we're going to go ahead and do a post. Since this guy is still in here, just so we can have more than one dog. Wait, what did I, oh. So we added the new dog.
And grab that ID.
What's that?
Grab that ID.
Yep. So now we have two dogs. We're going to grab this ID, which that's only really needed when you're on Postman like this, testing it like this. So we added that ID, and now we're going to try to get by that ID. And we only get the one, as opposed to the two that we had in the list. And like Brian said, because this isn't an actual database, every time we refresh, it goes right back to the basic seed data, and that's all there is. All right, so we're going to this commits, and it's good to commit as often as possible. Post rec working. That was right. Origin. So a thing to note is very much like in Vercel, you notice that it's not updating over here because we pushed it to, let me grab this. We pushed it to a different branch. So all those changes are on a different branch. So we need to do a pull request to take these changes and move them over to main. So I'm going to create a pull request. A lot of times when, and the important part is just make sure that these all are good. Doesn't look like there's any errors, so we're going to go ahead and merge that. And then this should automatically update. I was going to say it might take a minute. While that updates, are there any questions so far?
You're good.
Okay. All right, we're going to refresh this guy. Okay. And then we're going to go back over to this one, because that was that one. Dogs. And there was just the one. So we're going to add a new one here. JSON. And I'm going to cheat. Okay. Oh, change that to a post. Okay, so we're getting from the live API now that we've added a new dog. So we can go back to here. Oops, and go ahead and refresh. And we can see that it added a new one.
I can even see it on my side that you've added a new one.
Nice. So now we're going to try to do this on the live version. See if we can pull just the one. And we can. And the order that you add them, it is, there is no importance to how you add them in here. It will still pull the information, and when you go to use a React app, it really doesn't matter what order they come back in. It just matters that you have the right syntax and the spelling is correctly and capitalization was where it should be. That's the only part that really, really matters. The order is not important at all.
All right. So I guess we just have delete left.
Yes.
So since we merged that, We want to do a get pull origin main again, even on your side.
Oh, yeah.
And that should say that you are, it fetches the new head.
Yeah.
There you go. So on mine, it shows that index.js, there was 41 changes. There you go.
Yep, mine too.
So now both of our mains are on the same page. So when we try to check out again, when you do a get checkout, new branch like delete or del, is probably what I would call it, then you don't have to worry about being on a different code base when you push it. You're on the latest of everything.
Right. Brian, you want to take over and do the delete?
Oh, I suppose I probably could. Let's see here. I'm gonna share my screen so you can see that I have done my what do you call it? My update. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a get checkout. If I can spell today. And I'm just going to call it del. I'm going to open up code. And we should be at the same point where Melissa is. I'm going to put on WordWrap. What on earth? It's weird that it's not on there. And so we have our seed data. We have get all dogs. We have get one dog. We have add new dogs. And we have our base URL. I'm going to put it right above the base URL. So I have deleted dog, disappointed. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do server.delete. And we're going to do dogs. And just like what we did with getting an individual, we're going to get an individual ID as well. Then we need our request and our res, our rec res. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at this and, oh, I also need to start this. I'm going to do, I still need to do an npmi. Make sure I've got everything before I. Okay, so we're going to do run server. Okay, server is listening on port 5000. I'm going to make sure it's up on my system. And I'm just going to look at one of the dogs. All right, so we've got a German Shepherd. And we're going to be sending in an ID. So just like up here, we're going to be using this const ID equals rec params. I'm just going to copy and paste it. And we're looking for this ID in rec params. If you also look up here, we have your find dog by ID, which is something else that we're going to be using. So this is a little function inside of, oops, wrong one, inside of here. So I'm literally copying Melissa's code to figure out if there is a dog with that ID. And then I'm also going to be doing her found dog. Almost all of this is a lot of duplicate code. That's why building a backend is considered a lot faster, is because you'll find places where you can reuse code over and over and over, not necessarily by copying and pasting, but because you'll have find dog by ID, and it'll be a function that you can access from inside of your router, which you'll learn about later, of course. But this type of stuff makes it so that you can say, hey, does this dog actually exist? Yes, it does exist. Well, what's the ID that it is? It'll return the ID and everything else. So everything works fine. So what I'm finding here is if the dog actually exists. So I'm just going to copy this. So I've effectively just duplicated everything that Melissa has done. But the difference is that I'm not necessarily trying to, oh, sorry, this is 400. I'm not wanting to return the found dog. I'm wanting to delete the found dog. So what I'm wanting to do is I'm going to want to do a filter on that array. So we're going to do, let's see here. How would I do that? I've already forgotten. So we're going to do dogs equals dogs.filter. And we already have the find dog by ID in here. So we can just do find dog by ID. And I believe that's all I really need to do, but I need to return. Do we want to return the dog that was found? Because we could return the found dog and say, you know, if we were to just do this, we could actually go through and say, found dog. I think this will work. Pretty sure. So let me open up my Postman. Of course, it's on a different screen. Give it a second. I got to open up Postman. And we'll just see if I'm wrong. I probably am. I like to experiment though. Don't need that one.
Delete always catches me.
Yeah. And if you can't tell, I've used this a few times in the last build week, even though I'm not really doing a build week project. So what we're looking for is this dog's ID here. And we're wanting to delete the German Shepherd. Poor German Shepherd. Actually, since that recompiled, I need to refresh. It's going to have a different ID each time that we refresh that. Copy. And I'm going to do a new one. I'm going to change my request to a delete. And I'm going to do localhost :5000 dogs. And then that. So I shouldn't need to put in a body or anything. I should just be able to send in that ID, and it should return that it deleted the German Shepherd, that poor creature. And I could be wrong, could be broken. And at that point, we get Melissa to take over, right? No, I'll fix it. So we'll send it. All right, so it says deleted, and it sends us the found dog. If I refresh, this should be an empty array, and it's not, of course. So probably what happened was my filter is incorrect. So we're supposed to filter it by find dog by ID, which is probably, maybe we just need to, I'll think of it. So let me just do this way. So something is wrong with my filter. So it's definitely found the dog. It knows the dog is there, but it's not actually filtering it out. So what we need to do is we need to find if the dog does not equal the ID, right? Yeah. Otherwise, it just filtered out everything else. So we need the opposite of find dog by ID. We need to return is not equal to ID. I think. I could be wrong. We're going to save it. So now, again, since this restarted our server, I'm going to have to refresh this to get the current UUID of the German Shepherd. And then paste it into here. And send it. That didn't like that. Dog is not defined. Oh no, I broke it already. Let's see where I broke it. Did we mention it's nice to have this NodeMon because it's going to tell you exactly where the problem is? So it says line 81, obviously my code, of course. No, wrong one. Come on. I'm just going to keep clicking through until I find it. Oh, I never passed in dog. Duh. Okay. So now we're passing in, or we have a callback that has a individual line for each individual element of the array. We're going to call it dog. So each object is called dog. So dog.id does not equal ID. It returns it. So everything else that's in there doesn't get returned, and it just makes it, so that, well, this should make it an empty array until we push something else, basically. I think I've got that. One moment. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. So if I refresh this again, and I grab this ID, now I'm much more confident that it will work. So we're going to send this. We should have deleted German Shepherd. I should be able to refresh this, and then we have an empty array. So now the delete works, and if I want to go ahead and add another, we're going to go ahead and do a post raw JSON, and I can't ever tell you if this is correct or not. Oh, and since it's JSON, we have to have your quotes. And then it was image URL. And I'm going to go ahead and find an image URL. So we'll find I can never remember if it's I before E except after who knows. English is hard. That's IE. And I even own one of these dogs. He's very quiet. All right, so we'll just go Wikipedia. We'll click on that. Oh, it's a light golden. I don't really like light goldens. They're too hyper. I like my dark golden. So we're going to copy image address. And we're going to paste it in there. So I'm using Wikipedia because free images. I don't even have to take a picture of my own dog. I can be really lazy. All right, so now if I send this, our request URL is empty. Oh, geez. I need to send this to dogs. I'm already losing my mind. All right, so we're sending that to dogs. All right, so now we know that it's ID whatever. And I'm doing a get. Whenever I'm doing this, I'm just doing a get. So I'm pretty sure that this is working. I think I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to add that. I can spell today. Come on now. My fingers are sticking or something. I don't know. And we'll say add a delete functionality. And we'll do a cell del. All right. So we did a git push origin del. So now I'm going to go into here. We're going to do a pull request. And create a pull request. Looks happy, so we're going to confirm the merge. It's merged. And Melissa, go ahead and share your screen and show when it's deployed. If you notice, I'm the one who did the push, and Heroku is actually saying, yeah, we did the deploy. So go ahead and test it. See if you can delete the that poor defenseless little animal. Up your own, yeah. Delete the poor defenseless little German Shepherd.
Alrighty, so we're gonna do.
Everybody likes my wallpaper.
All right, so we're gonna delete him. Copy. Now we'll go back to a git. Oh, duh. Oh, that works too. So I tried to get that ID that's no longer there.
Yeah.
So let's try the base URL, and he's still there.
Okay, cool. So now if I just lost my voice. If we want to take like just about a 5-minute break and then come back, we'll integrate this into a React app. We'll do a Q&A afterwards, after the break, and then come back and I'll integrate this into a React app.
Question, why did you guys decide to make a very random, I don't know if you've already mentioned this, but random string of numbers as the ID instead of like 1, 2, 3?
It's easier to keep track of. It sounds like it wouldn't be, but it's a lot easier to keep track of because then you don't have to deal with, well, what if we just used like an index number? Well, if we used an index number to determine that, like say, we just did length. So if we deleted, say we had a German Shepherd, a Golden Retriever, and a Chocolate Lab, and we deleted the Chocolate Lab and then added in a Chiweenie, the Chiweenie would definitely be ID 3, where it used to be ID 3 for the Chocolate Lab. And that's going to cause issues when somebody has access to that ID. So again, that gets into more of the database like things. So it was more of a design decision. And honestly, it was very last minute to do that. So like literally we just said, okay, yeah, let's do this now.
So if there's another way that I've done it, I can pull it up. The other way it would go, I should say, would be, what is my first?
Well, I guess you probably could have a counter that increases each time.
Yeah, that's what I was going to show. Yep. Okay.
But typically most databases, when we're dealing with small databases, it automatically keeps track of ID for you. You don't actually need to know what ID is.
So the way I did this one, it's very similar, and this one's in the organization too, is I set this afterwards. So the very next ID is going to be 2. And then when I did my post request, I have this. So it just automatically increases that ID by 1. The downside to this is in a regular database, once a lot of times, once I use ID2, unless I restart the entire database, ID2, if that gets deleted, it's gone forever. So it could, like I said, it could potentially cause errors because someone might have ID2 saved and now all of a sudden it's just going to break. A lot of times it can do that. Now this one, it would just be the single number as just the ID 1. And when I go to post, that, because it doesn't like multiple ones of the same name. Okay, thank you. We'll do another post. Okay, but if I were to delete this, it would just end up messing up things in the long run. So doing the UUID where it refreshes each time, it's a lot easier, but it's harder for people to save it.
And so like a lot of databases, like when you get into somebody who's actually done database administration, they don't like to use incrementing numbers in databases. Instead, they would prefer to use a unique identifier for a key. It's very rare for them to use just an incremented number. Maybe for like some weird join table, they might use it that they just don't really need. They don't really care about whether they have a unique identifier or not. But for the most part, just out of habit, they'll make a unique identifier. It's not necessarily UUID. There's all different types of unique identifiers, but
there's another one you can use called short ID, another module that you could use that does the same thing.
Yeah, but UUID is more in the realm of the database type people. There's another one, I think it was called CID or something like that, or SID. I always forget what it stands for, but it's been around for a long time as well. But they're all just unique identifiers, and just we don't really care what the number is inside of the database, because we could still return however many items there are in the database. So like if we wanted to put in like dogs.length, we could put that at the end of our database, or not our database, but our JSON. We could do length, number of dogs, colon, and then whatever dogs.length is, and it would give us the number of dogs that are there. Just another chunk of information that we would get back.
Yeah, so here I just deleted the second dog that I added. Now I'm going to go ahead and try and add another one, and it should give me an ID of 4, which it does. Because although we deleted that second ID, it doesn't see it anymore. It won't go back and refill it. And that's the nice thing about the UUID, is that it doesn't put it in any specific order in the database, or it doesn't have to worry about skipped numbers, like Brian said. The whole someone saved an ID, now they don't have to worry about that.
Okay, thanks.
We could also get into other things, but almost everything else ends up becoming a computer science argument on, hashing tables and whatever. You'll get to that soon enough, and you'll probably do just fine. But for right now, it's way out of scope of what we're doing. So, I guess we'll take a quick little break and meet up here in about 5 minutes, and then I'll start again on doing a React app, connecting in a React app to the back end, and seeing if we can make this thing work.
Okay.
Sound good? Okay. I'll be back here in like literally 5 minutes. Gives me time to get some water and bathroom break, and we're good to go.
Yep, same.
All right. I'll see you here in a bit. Well, I know I'm back.
Yep, I'm still here.
I'm here too.
Awesome. So I guess I'll go ahead and get started then. Let's see, share my screen. right, so I guess just for to keep paperwork in order on this, let's do a main git pull origin main, and that should fast forward us. Anybody else who has it pulled, go ahead and do that as well. I'm going to CD out of that because I'm going to use the production for this instead of my local server. And we're going to go and download starter front end, right, Melissa?
I'm gonna go ahead and I'm also gonna add the API link to that dogs API, so it's saved in there.
I didn't understand what you said, but that's okay.
You're gonna have to do another git pull origin main for dogs API.
That's fine. Yeah, just let me know whenever you're done.
So what are the differences between everything that's on there? So we just built Web 35 Dogs API.
Yes.
But what are the other? Okay, starter front end is self-explanatory, but what's Node CRD and Node API starter?
So Node CRD, I think, was one that we were playing with.
Yep.
Kind of like our demo before we did a demo to make sure that everything works and that we're on the same page. So it's kind of like notes on how we developed this one little demo. And Dogs API is what we just wrote. Basically,
the API starter is just the very, very basics of let's get it up and running.
Yeah. So the starter front end, I think right now, I think it's just create React app, nothing else. I mean, I don't even think we have Axios in here or anything.
No.
Yeah, so we don't have Axios. So I'll probably just do Axios. I don't think I'm going to go and do like any error, yup error stuff or anything like that. I think I'm just going to do a straight up, just a quick and dirty React app, since that's really not, the big point. But the idea is to continue to make React apps as often as you can so that you get more practice with it. I've been doing them for a very long time, and I still try to get as much practice as humanly possible with them. And this is a completely new API. I haven't touched it. We didn't even build out the React side beforehand because it's really not necessary because we've done it so many times. So I'm going to go ahead and clone this. Keyboard. All right, so, okay, cool. So we're going to do npm install. Watching my fast computer operate. Look at how quick this thing is. There's somebody wandering around my house. I think they're chasing a dog or something. I don't know. It is running, I swear. Holy cow. It hasn't locked. I don't have a fast internet and I don't have a fast computer. Okay, cool. So that worked. I'm going to do a git checkout. We're going to call this, I guess dashboard sounds good. I'm going to make it a dashboard first so it can display out, each one of the individual dogs, and maybe eventually have an add, and a delete button for each one, that kind of thing. So now we're in a new branch called dashboard. Going to open VS Code. And has too many active changes. So let's see, starter, front end.
That's just from the node modules.
Oh yeah, but it says, would you like to add node modules to gitignore? Yeah, in fact I do. Why is it not in there? That's weird. Why did it not have a gitignore?
I don't know.
That's weird. All right, so I'm gonna, what was it was a npm I gitignore.
No, to actually add a gitignore,
Yeah.
it's gitignore, wait, hold on. It's in my docs.
It's somewhere.
Yeah, so that was one thing that I added to the organization is those README docs.
Yeah.
Some of them are a little intense. Like the server notes one is a bit intense.
Okay.
But it's got a lot of good information. Where is it? Adding that. Wait, where's my gitignore file? That's why.
I always forget this too, so don't feel.
In the terminal, npx gitignore node.
All right, so gitignore node. Remember, something like that. All right, cool. So now notice we actually have a gitignore that has populated stuff. So first thing, we don't want to push our our node modules. The second thing that's really super important is our environment variable files. So if you have an environment variable, you don't want to push it like at all. That's where you keep your secrets. So those are the two big ones that you absolutely want to make sure are in there. So we should be okay. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add this. And I'm going to commit it and say gitignore file. And then we're going to do, I guess, npm start. Because I'm not going to push that right now. It's not really necessary. I can have as many commits as I want to a single push. All right, cool. So we have all this ugly stuff. Nobody cares about this. I'm one of these people that gets very vicious with my React, especially if it's going to be a project like this. So like, I don't know, I'm not going to use any of this. Our public directory basically has any static resources that we're going to use. Like say if I wanted a specific photo or logo or something, you typically could put it into your static resources if you want. Doesn't really matter, but for me, I'm really kind of a little weird when it comes to this kind of stuff. I'm not really going to be using this as a progressive web application or anything else, so I'm just going to rewrite my HTML file. We're just going to call it dog list, I guess, or web35 dog list. Web35 dog list sounds good. And I'm going to do a div class, and we're going to call this container. As soon as I save this, we'll notice that this thing just exploded everything on the React side. So originally what they had was they had a div class or a div ID root inside of here, inside of your body. I just got rid of that. I changed it to a class container, and I just freaked out the JavaScript side just like it did like literally 2 months ago. So I also don't really like, I don't know, I don't need that. I don't need that. Whatever, I don't need that. I don't need that. So I just have a favorite icon. I probably change that at some point. and an HTML file. And the HTML file is very basic, nothing more, nothing less. On our index.js file, you can actually look here. It says document get element by ID root. Well, I don't have an element called root anymore. So I usually like to do query selector. We'll do a class of container. Now, technically, you probably could select the body element or whatever, but it'll throw all kinds of warnings and start puking up everywhere. So you don't want to do that. So typically, you'll just have a div with something in it. Most people just leave root in their ID of root, and that works fine for them. I'm just weird. So that's, you know, it's more of a way of showing that you can make a change to it, that you're not locked in to everything. So we'll refresh that, and we're back to where we were. I also really don't like their CSS at all. Dear Lord, I don't want to do any more testing. They did way too much already. Rotating thing. I'm not entirely sure what web vitals are. I don't want to set up tests. Okay. So we can now start looking and seeing all the things that I just wrote. So I don't need that. I don't need to report web vitals. I'm not going to run it in strict mode because I don't care. And I'm just going to render app in my query selector. And I'm not going to do web vitals because I don't know. I just am not. App.js. I'm going to get rid of those two. Pretty sure it's going to need import React from React. Apparently they have removed it for whatever reason. And logo is not defined. We'll just get rid of all of this. We don't need any of that. All right, so okay, that was weird. It shouldn't have done that. There. Okay, so now we're back down to effectively just this index.js file here. So you notice it's effectively the exact same thing as what we had in here. So we've got a div class container with nothing in it. Script tags that were added by React because React. We've got our head is identical to what we had over here in our index HTML. So we got a viewport, UTF-8, a title, and body with a div in it. So we're just at the absolute basic, nothing in there, no styling, no fancy schmancy progressive web applications for me. I'm being a rebel. I look like one too, don't I? It's the long hair. So not ever going to touch this index HTML file again. I really don't care about that. We probably want to install Axios because I'm not wanting to deal with fetch, even though fetch is nice and easy. We can make it work with a lot of things. Axios has a lot of backwards compatibility when people have older browsers, which do exist. And that's kind of the main reason why I still use it other than fetch. If I knew that I was only dealing with people with up-to-date computers, then I would continue to use fetch over Axios, honestly. But Axios works really well and it's pretty lightweight. So I'm okay with it over fetch for right now. Maybe in another 5 years, I'll just go straight to fetch. But for right now, I'm good with Axios. npm start again. Okay, so we got our Web35 dog list. We have app, not going to touch index.js anymore. What we're going to want is our base URL. So I think we're going to do a use state, and we're also going to need a use effect. There we go. So I think I'm just going to call this base URL. And yes, I have a habit of using everything as use state, just FYI. That's just the way that I roll. So we have a base URL. We probably need to store our data somewhere. So we'll say and now how I'm going to determine what this needs to be is by looking at the GET request that we're going to be using. If you notice, it's just an array. It's an array of objects. So I could probably go in here and just start it off with an array. I can also add in an object in here that has the exact same information, kind of like an initial state, like what you would use in an initial state. This is going to get overwritten, but if we have any problems with accessing an array element specifically, I'd prefer to say, hey, you know what, initial dog or something like that. So I'm gonna say ID of 1, lack of a better word. Breed is not a dog, and image URL, and we're gonna say, I don't know, what should we use for an image? Let's do splash random images, bump to the caps lock. Come on. And we're just going to do this slash, we'll say 320 by 200. We're going to go by old computer resolutions on this. So what this is going to be is this is just going to be a random image to display stuff. I'm not even doing Axios calls or anything. I'm just going to see if this works. So first thing that I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to take my data, map it, and I'm going to give it a callback, and we're going to call this one dog because, well, we can. And oops, sorry. We don't want it to return JavaScript. We want it to return JSX. And this is just going to be another component. And I haven't made the component yet, so I'm kind of thinking of a good name. So maybe dog. Dog isn't a good component name. Probably not dog card, because I think card should just be like an individual. Maybe we should just do it as dog card. Dog card, we'll pass in a key is going to be equal to dog.id. And I guess we'll pass the dog down in props. Dog sounds good. And I think we actually do have to put it in a dog as dog. So now we've crashed it. We don't have a dog card. So let's make a new component. And I use JSX just because I'm Yeah, you can use JS, JSX. It doesn't really matter whenever you're dealing with components levels. It just allows some extra linting for JSX that JS doesn't allow. So we're going to import React from React. We're going to do a new variable name called dog card, which is equal to a function. Props is your parameter. And we're going to export default dog card. And I'm going to return currently nothing, because I just want to make sure this thing works. And I'm going to add console. All right, let's see if this explodes. Dog card not defined because I haven't imported it yet. So all right, so let's inspect this, go to our console, and we have sent in an object of dog, breed is not a dog, image URL is, well, that mess. So now we can get to, I don't know how we got 2 tabs in, but that's okay. Now we can get into actually displaying something. So this would probably be an okay article. Don't have to always use divs on everything, right? Articles probably got an image at the top. Source equals, and we're going to call this, actually source is going to be props.dog. Image URL. Yep. Alt is going to be, and then probably like an H3 or something at the top sounds good for anyone who does that. Props.dog.breed. Okay, so we've passed in dog into our props object. And so we've got props.dog.breed. And yeah, I guess I probably could have gone up here and deconstructed it a little bit. It'd probably be okay. But for right now, I'm not too worried about it. And that is complaining about me not closing my image. Okay, so now we should have, okay, cool. So not a dog and that. So we've already made sure that the data is actually working. So that data structure that we have on the server is now duplicated on our front end before we even started getting Axios anything. So we made our own junk data on our app right here. So even if it errors out, we've still got something there. It doesn't puke up. Just, you know, so you could even change this to something like loading dogs, even without me even going into a state machine or anything. So now that we've got that, we probably could start getting some more interesting things, like I don't know. We could do use effect. And let's do it this way. And we'll do Axios.get. And we're going to do base URL /dogs. Yeah, that'll work. I'm a big fan of then and catch, just FYI. All right, so we got a then and a catch. So then, of course, is where it's successful. Catch is where it's failed. So we're going to probably want whatever the response was from the database. And I'm just going to console log it. As for the catch, probably going to have some sort of an error. Error. So that'll give us one way or another, it'll at least show us on the console what's going on. So if I save this, I don't think it's going to, must have hit something wrong. All right. So app.js line 18, where we have this console log. So we know we're in our .then. And we have data. Hello, Lambda students.
Is there a reason why Axios is capitalized?
It's just the way it was imported up here. You can have it lowercase if you just switch it like that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. Just that's the way it's defaulted. The default export on Axios is capital, but like Lambda likes to put things lowercase like that. So it really honestly doesn't matter that much. Yep, sorry, I just did enter. My bad. So that should be working, right? Because we got dogs web API web 35 Heroku app.com/dogs. Oh, yeah, that's right. Because we already have this slash right there. My bad. So now if I go in here, yeah, now we've got this API dogs in our config, and now we should actually be returning data. So we got a German Shepherd with an image, but we're not doing anything with that just yet because we want res.data. So I'm just going to console log res.data, save it, and I'll refresh it again just because I want to. Now, if you notice, this is an array of objects. So that's exactly what we want. That's what we're expecting. So instead of console logging it, we could just set data to res.data. And every API is going to be slightly different. So we actually want to have this happen. Let me refresh. That German Shepherd link's not working for me. That's horrible. Why is the German Shepherd link not working? No. Is
it not working at all?
Yeah. See, the thing is, I think that you have to do image address.
Did I add the wrong one?
Yeah. Let me go in and fix it right quick.
Do a git pull first.
Yep, we'll do. See, we've already found a perfect back end. No errors whatsoever, right? Oh, sorry, can't do it. So this would be, I guess you can't really call it seed data improvement. What would be a good one?
And with dashes.
Image fix. That sounds good. All right, so because this is trying to load the Wikipedia page, this one is actually going to load the image.
My bad.
That's okay. So we're going to save that. All right, and then we're going to so we have committed. Okay. So now I can go back over here. Dogs API, pull request, create a pull request. I'm going to merge it just because, well, I can. All right, let me know when that that server's up.
All right, hang on. It's building.
I can tell.
All right, up.
I have no idea why I have a fish. It was still loading. I was looking, I'm like, that doesn't look like a, a German Shepherd. Yeah, obviously we've got some CSS issues to deal with because that's taking up like a lot of pixels. But anyway, that's
Not my department. I was back end.
that part is working. So I guess probably what we want to do in here, okay, I don't need to do that. In here is let's see here. Give me 1 second, I'm being slightly distracted. Okay, so what I'm going to want to do is I'm probably also going to want to be able to link to some sort of a route or something to do an individual one if we really wanted to consume the entire thing. For right now, probably what I'm wanting to do more is figure out a button to make this thing delete. Now, when we delete, I have a different methodology than just removing it from my list of data. I just generally will refetch. And since this is such a small project, I'm probably just going to put a little refresh token in and then just change my refresh from false to true and put this into my dependency array. So anytime that it changes, it re-gets information from useEffect. Which also means that I have to pass them down in props, and maybe it's a little overcomplicated, but it'll save time in the short run, definitely not in the long run. So I'm just going to make a refresh and just set it true. It doesn't matter if it's true or false because all we're looking for is a change. And we'll make a function here.
You can use a use effect like that?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep. So what we're doing is anytime that your use effect, anything that's inside of this, anytime that it changes, it reruns the use effect. So if we're changing the refresh, then, you know, we'll say, we'll call this a refresh handler. It sounds fine. We don't even care what it is. It makes it so I don't have to do hardly anything to make this thing work. So we'll just set refresh as not refresh. Okay, that sounds good. All right, what exploded? Object is not iterable. Let me see what I broke. No, use effect. This isn't use effect. This is use state.
Right, that's what I was talking about. That's why I was.
Oh, yeah. I'm losing my mind. That's all. It's 4:30 where I'm at, and blood sugar's obviously dropping quickly. But yeah, this use effect is that do not use a use effect over here ever. That's my bad. Sorry. So now we've got the refresh handler. I'm just going to go ahead and pass this down. So all right, so we got refresh handler equals refresh handler. So now we passed down that function. All we need to do is invoke it anytime that we want to delete something and then refresh that data. So I'm going to go ahead and save it. It probably is no longer broken. At least I hope not. Refresh. Okay, it's no longer broken. We'll go into the dog card and we'll just do a button and dog. Save it. There's a nice little delete dog. It refreshes. So my guess is we probably also want to have that base URL passed down. So we're going to prop drill that as well. Might as well. Base URL. At this point, I think it might be almost worth it to go ahead and start dereferencing these in the dog card. But let's see here. App.js. All right, so you can see right on our dog card, we're passing a dog refresh handler. Anything else? Yes. Good. What else did we pass? Base URL. Should be in there as well, but I don't know why it's not. Oh, it's got more stuff. Nope, that's key. Well, we'll try it anyway. So we'll see if we can pass down. So we're going to do an on delete. So we'll set a new variable called on delete. We're going to pass an E. Call prevent default so it doesn't refresh the page. Maybe put an on click. And we'll call on delete. And we'll just do okay. Now let's just see if this works. I'm going to refresh. So I said delete button on, and we know the ID is the dog's button. So here we're probably going to need to do an Axios. We'll do it the lowercase way. So we're going to do Axios.delete, and we're going to do base URL, and oh, sorry, this is going to, I missed the props. Base URL props.dog.id. And that should delete it.
go. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Thanks,
Yeah.
thanks for popping in. All right, so console log the error, and we're going to console log the result. But the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to invoke props dot I believe that's what we called it. Yeah, refresh handler. So what I'm doing here is I'm calling my refresh handler from app, and it should refresh this when it deletes it. I'm pretty sure this is going to work, but again, this is all off the cuff, so you never know. So if I delete the dog, it's gone. Poor dog. Even if I refresh, I don't get the dog back unless Melissa restarts the server.
Would you like me to restart the server?
Please.
You want to stop sharing for a second and I'll show them how to do that?
Yeah.
Why are you guys talking about dogs?
Because we built a thing with dogs. All right. I need to share mine. So the easiest way to restart the server is to come in here to more and just hit restart. Gives you a brief downtime, but then you can usually just have this up and make sure that you go like this. It doesn't take very long to restart it, so it looks like it's up. Let's double check dogs. And he's back again.
Okay.
Determined to stay.
I guess let me add it. All right, screen 2 again. All right, so now that the server's back up, I can refresh, and we have a nice German Shepherd. So that's great. Now we can delete a dog and refresh, and we know that when you delete the dog, it refreshes from the API. Maybe it's not the most efficient thing in the world, but it's a lot easier than rewriting a back end on your front end multiple times over. It's just the way I like to do it. I like to be lazy. What can I say? So basically our dog card is finished. If we add in another dog, it should just put it, like, for the most part, right underneath it. And then it's mostly just CSS from that point to make it look pretty. So now what we want to do is we want to make another component, and we're going to call this dog add. We're going to import React from React. New variable set to a function. I don't think I'm going to need any props on this. Well, maybe we do. We'll just go and pass in props anyway. Console log props out of habit, return some JSX, and we still need to export default. Okay, so that gets us our dog add. I'm going to throw this into, I'm just going to close the dog card. I'm going to where should I do this? I'm going to put this, I guess I'll put this right on top. So we got dog add, and I imported it right here. One of the nice little linting features of VS Code is you hit tab on a component like that, and it'll automatically add it up top. So kind of nice. And we'll just make sure that this thing explodes. We do have some stuff going in dog add. It's an empty props object. Nothing's in it. We haven't passed anything to it. Probably dog add. We're probably going to need base URL. And our refresh handler. I don't even think we need dog. I think those are the only two that I can think of that we're going to need, because we're going to want to try to keep our action inside of that dog add. So, and then state is just updated from refresh handler. Let's see what explodes. Nothing's exploded yet, so I guess that's okay. Dog card Axios is defined, never used. Why is there a capital A? Line 1. Okay, that's just weird. I'm going to control.
On the dog card file, not app.
Okay. Let me do dog card. There we go. Oh, yeah, that's right. All right, save that. I don't like to see all these weird little warnings. Don't care about base URL not being in there. Really don't care. Yeah, so that's the only other warning. You could always do an ESLint ignore line on that. I'm not really interested in doing that right now. Don't need dog card, we'll do dog add. So this is probably going to be a form. So there's just two things that we needed: an image URL and a breed, right?
Yep.
I can think of an edge case right now that we're going to have to deal with at the end. So I'm gonna screw it up on purpose by not adding a URL, an image URL, and that way we can see it crash and burn. I'd like to live vicariously through other people's eyes. Okay, so we're going to do an input. Actually, no, I don't know. I'm going to do a label. Then we can put the inside of the label. We can put the input, right? I always forget how to do this. So label is going to be yeah, I think we're going to put like H2. Okay, so we got a add breed, a form label, breed, and then we can do an input. The input is going to be type text. Wrapped in quotes. All right, so we got an input type text. That's fine. We'll deal with all of the state here in a minute as well. Breed and image of breed. I guess we should do there, URL to image of breed. So we'll save that. All right, so now we got an add breed form, does nothing, really quite useless. So we're probably going to need use state. So yeah, let's do we'll just do an initial form state. And this is actually going to be an object. We're going to need to match this effectively exactly to we're going to need to match this to the database, what the database is wanting. So we're going to do, oh, it was lowercase, with a capital U. We're going to set that to a string as well. So now we don't need an ID or anything because we just have two fields. The ID is generated by the server itself. And then I'm going to use state. And we're going to call this yeah, I guess we could probably call this form or maybe breed. Breed and set breed. Yeah, that's probably okay. So now what we have is we've got an initial form state that is equal to nothing. We've got a breed that is equal to our, so we got breed.breed. That doesn't really matter. That doesn't even make sense. Let's just do dog. Dog, set dog. That makes more sense. What do you think, Melissa? Makes more sense?
Yep.
All right, so we got change handler. So we're going to want this to be a function. So we're going to do change handler. And since this is going to have a submit button, we're going to want to, well, actually, no, this one isn't going to have a submit button, but it's going to have values from the event that happens. So we're going to need our event like that. And what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to start naming our fields at this point. So well, here, we're just going to console log E because that way we can see where all this stuff comes from. Because it should be like e.target.value or whatever, right? But most people don't get to see where that stuff comes from. So I'm going to go ahead and just go over it again because it's kind of neat. So we have our input type text. I'm going to drive some people up the wall by doing it this way, but I don't care. I can do it. It's my tutorial, right? So what we're going to have is a name, and we're going to want to set this to this string value right here. So breed. We're also going to want to have a value. This is actually going to be set to our dog.breed. So like that. And then same thing over here. I'm going to drive some people up a wall. All right. And we're going to do name. The name's going to be image URL. And the value is going to equal dog.image URL. So if I save this, we also need to put an on change on both of these. So, and this is change handler. I'm just going to copy this like that. I just got dinged again. Give me one moment. No big deal. Nobody's exploded, so that's good. All right. So on change handler. All right. So I'll save this and we'll inspect. Go to the console. And if I just start typing in here, you get all kinds of cool stuff. So you get this synthetic event, nothing actually typed out here because we're not handling anything. We're just, every time I hit a key, it's console logging out E. So we'll just pick one at random. You'll notice that you have bubbles, cancelable, all this other, oh, here's target. Okay. E.target. I imagine there's a value in here somewhere. Yeah, it still goes. Yeah, E.target.value. Okay. Value says that it's an empty string, but you know, everything is asynchronous, so we don't even know what on earth it is. So let's just do E.target. Well, E.target.value. So we're going to console log E.target.value and see exactly what it does. I'm going to refresh. So it's showing what the value that I'm typing in. So here's a key, here's another key, there's another U, here's an E, more E's. So it's saying what I'm typing in, but we actually need to set it to something. So you could also look at E.target.name and E.target.value. And you'll notice that it said breed D, image URL D, and I guess I also need to change. Oh yeah, a URL to image of breed, but we just have weird CSS right now. So everything's ugly because, well, there's no CSS at all. It's horrible. So here we have our target, E.target.name and E.target.value, but I don't want to console log that out every single time I hit a key. I actually wanted to modify our state. So what we're going to do is we're going to set dog. Now, dog is an object already. You can tell right here based off of our initial form state. And what we're going to do is we're going to spread in our dog. Actually, I don't even think that we have to do that, do we? Melissa? I think we do. It's been a while since I've written a change handler from scratch.
I don't think you do.
Yeah. I think I actually do, because I'm going to want to, because we're doing more than one, it's going to spread the dog and then we're going to modify whatever the dog
yeah. Yeah.
So the next thing is we did bracket notation like 3 months ago and everybody hated it. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to be putting in bracket notation E.target.name so that it actually has the string value of that E.target.name. So that will give us a string value of that for that key. And then our image URL is just going to be E.target.value. I think that'll work. Not entirely sure. And I guess I'm going to change this to dog. So I'm going to console log out dog instead of props because we already know what props we're getting in. Refresh because I want to. And so now this should actually start working like that. Okay, so breed and image URL are both working. So we're actually getting data in to our state. So it's no longer just typing out into the middle of the world. So I'm just going to nuke that. I really don't want to console log the dog anymore. I just want to make sure that's working. So we also need a button. And we're going to put this type is equal to submit. And we're going to need to do an on submit to our form. So on our on submit, I guess we're going to have something called submit handler. It sounds good. Or maybe we should just call it add dog. There's 3 Ds in a row. So, pass an E. So we're going to do an E prevent default. I can type it to stop it from having anything happen. And we will want to do an Axios add. So let's add in our Axios at the top. I can type. There we go. We're going to want backticks. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do an axios.add. We're using our props base URL and we're sending it to dogs. Now the second chunk of information that we're sending in right now is the dog, so breed and image URL. So for right now, I'm not even checking to see if there's anything in breed. You could just hit add and there's no error correcting or anything. Right now, I'm not even worried about that. We're just gonna see what happens and then start dealing with problems as it comes by. We probably still have another 10, 15 minutes of fixing bugs because I've introduced plenty already and not even getting to styling yet. So there's still more.
Sorry to interrupt. Is that add similar to post?
Yeah, actually, it's supposed to be post. My bad. You're good.
Oh, okay.
My
Sorry.
brain is slightly mushy after doing this for the last.
Imagine.
What are we at? 3 hours. So yeah, but yeah, great,
Actually, 3 years.
great catch on that one, by the way. I definitely would have caught it in compile or at build time, but definitely totally messed up. But yeah, so we're gonna do a dot then. And what I'm going to want to do is also have a catch. I'm getting lots of typos right now as well, not just mental typos, mental slips, but also my fingers aren't typing as well as they were a few minutes ago. So let's see here. And I certainly haven't been building out my my Git pushes either. I've been mad about that today. We're going to console log our error. And we're going to get a result back, but we're not really going to do anything with that result because I'm not adding it to the I'm not adding it to the array on my front end. I'm just going to re-get the entire back end. So, oh, sorry. I'm just going to call my props.refresh handler. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to set dog to my initial form state, so it resets it back down to nothing, and it should show up in the list. Or not, we don't know. We'll find out soon enough. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and refresh. Here we go. Let's copy. We're gonna copy this image. So there's our, no, that was copying the image. I need the image URL. copy image address. We're gonna paste that, and we're gonna do golden retriever. And we're gonna try to submit the dog and see if it explodes. It says type error, props refresh handler is not a function. All right, did we call it refresh handler or handle refresh? No, it's handle refresh handler.
I think you need to take in props, or you have.
Oh, maybe I didn't call it. No, I said refresh handler. Anyway, I should be able to refresh, and the dog should be in here. So yeah, we've got both dogs in there now. So there's our golden retriever, but it didn't call our refresh handler for whatever reason. Refresh handler, and I invoked it.
You did it right.
Move that up one.
And-
Refresh handler. That's really weird. All right, so
Oh, I think you're missing an L on hander.
yeah, that's hander. Did I mention English is a hard language?
It is.
Horrible. It's my first language, and I'm still not used to it.
Yeah, I struggle too for the time.
It's amazing, isn't it? So, all right, so we're gonna do time to feed the dog. Not a. So this is not a golden retriever. All right, so now that worked, and it should have refreshed it. Now we've got two golden retrievers because they can't spell retriever right because English is hard. So now we have a list, and I can delete the not a golden retriever, and it works fine. So you can see the golden retrievers there and the German Shepherd. So it looks like our height is still really high, but whatever, it's not that big of a deal. So now we're just down to the last little bit, which is what happens if we add in a Chowini and I hit submit without an image. Well, we get a Chowini with not an image. So probably in our dog card, we probably want to deal with that possibility because it's able to display an image, but it's not able to tell you that there is no image associated with this breed or whatnot. So what you can do is you can wrap this and you can say, no, that's not what I wanted. Why did you do that? No. All right. Props dot dog dot props dot image URL is equal to a string because we're going to be sending it a string with nothing in it if there's no URL. So we're just going to say not equal to an empty string. So we have a true value of there is an image. We want to display an image. I need to turn on the word wrap again. Okay, there, that's better. I'm also going to make this a little bigger. There. So what we're actually wanting to do here is, let's see here. At the end, we're wanting to just put like a P, poor dog. My dog's choking. That's horrible. Poor little dog. He's really old, so eat slower. We'll say no image found. So now it says Chewini, no image found. Instead of having like a broken image, now it's just a P element that says no image found. So we did a conditional render on here where we basically separated out our true, yes, there is something longer than just an empty set of strings, or no, it's just an empty set of string or an empty string. And it makes it a lot nicer, you know, from a user experience point of view, not to have that broken image link and wondering, hey, somebody needs to update this. Instead, it'll just be no image found, because nobody can actually picture a Chewini. They're way too fast.
We're really, really loud, as you heard earlier.
Oh, you can record them just fine. So, all right. So I'm going to refresh just because this is the new React is where you don't have to refresh. It'll just keep drilling down all kinds of stuff. So they've done some changes in the last day or two of Create React app. Okay, so, and that's like really ugly. Why? I'm gonna move this down a line. There. Okay, so that looks better. I haven't done any pushes. Yeah, I'll go ahead and make it more funny. Okay, it's probably misspelled too. The whole I before E thing screws up things. All right, so if you notice, I had done a lot of changes. So our index HTML, I basically rewrote 98% of it. I deleted a whole bunch of stuff, fixed app.js and index.js so they don't have any CSS at all or logos or anything else. Added a few other little things, deleted a few other little things. Kind of nice. So you can see nothing to commit because we've committed. Now let's push. Okay, so let me go back over here and go back over to our Node API starter. And
Wrong one.
oh, am I in the wrong one? Oh, I'm in. Sorry. Where am I? I do not know. Starter front end. Jeez, I'm losing.
Oh yeah, starter.
All right, so we're going to do a compared pull request. We're not actually we're not actually launched or deployed yet or anything, so we're just going to confirm it. And did we ever add cores in yet or not yet?
Course is on the
Okay.
API.
So okay, cool. So this should be good to go. There's no node modules or anything else. We've still got to do a little bit of styling and stuff. That's probably pretty easy to do. Let's go ahead and deploy it. I'm just going to deploy it to mine if that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
I have lots of cool things in Vercel, like Legally Beige. What a cool name. So we're going to import project. Continue. See, the thing is, I think we're going to actually have to add it into a team. Almost positive. Here we go.
Yeah, I think you do.
So we're going to paste this. Continue. Yes, I am a member. We're going to create a new team. And we're going to call this Dogs R Us or not. Continue. Yeah, I'm just going to put it on all repositories. Why not? Nobody gets to see my password. Works perfect. Okay, so preset to create React app, build and output settings. Looks like it's going to do an npm run build, which is fine. Output directory is build. We don't really have any environment variables to deal with, so we're okay with that. Deploy. Let me open up our README file. Still deploying. Congratulations, visit. All right, so we're going to copy this and paste it into our README. All right, that's probably okay. So a demo of this app can be found at Dogs R Us, Web35 starter frontend.vercel.app. That's not the right one, is it? Yeah, I guess it is. How about that? And that's pretty much it for that. Let's go ahead and drop this into the channel. Okay, cool. So now that's deployed. And let's go ahead and fix some of this horrible styling. What do you guys think? I'm gonna fix the styling. Nobody else can tell me what to do.
Well, hang on one sec. Let me check something really quick.
Got time?
Yep, it'll be real quick. Hang on. Let me share my screen real quick.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
So one thing that you can see already happened, the about right here already has a link.
Yeah.
Not everything does that. With the API, it did not do that. However,
You had to manually update it.
yep, you can go in and just do this and then and put it in there.
Okay, cool. Then that way it's an actual data point, not just a README file.
Right.
Okay. Well, that's pretty cool. I like that. Elijah, are you learning anything new? You're like, no, not really.
Definitely.
You get to see different styling, different ways of doing things more than anything. That's what you get to see on this.
What do you use to style?
I'm probably just gonna use like Sass for right now.
Have you ever used Node Sass?
Yeah, Node Sass.
Oh, that's right.
So that's kind of what I was thinking about, because I could probably do just straight up CSS, but I end up making too many errors when it comes to specificity and things like that.
Is Sass very similar to the less or?
Almost totally identical.
Mhm.
So for the most part, the only thing I'm going to be using is the I'm not going to be using a lot of variables. Variables, one of them is like the ampersand sign. The other one is a dollar sign. That's like the biggest difference between the two that I've seen. But Node Sass integrates really nicely with React. Less sort of does, but it's a little weirder from my perspective. And I just kind of got used to doing everything in Sass. So it's just a personal preference, not necessarily that one's better than the other. Honestly, I can't tell that much of a difference. So
Yeah, I use less in React.
yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I mean, it just depends on how you want to do it. So I'm going to do an npmi node Sass. I'm actually going to stop the server and then start it up again. Okay, so now I've got my React server up again. Okay. And we're going to close the deployed page for right now, just to make it so that I don't forget which one is which. All right. So I'm also going to check out another branch. And we're just going to call this styling. Sounds good. So typically I'll put most of my styling in one file that deals with the whole website. If it has like a subcomponent that's going to be broken out, then I'll just have it in that subcomponent. But for right now, we're not having to deal with any advanced topics. Just make it so it doesn't look horrible. That's my biggest goal right now, I guess. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new file. So we're going to app SCSS. And we're going to okay, so it has not exploded by doing that. I guess my first problem here is that we have this form that does some like really weird stuff. So I'm not even going to do a reset because it's not really worth my time to do a reset, and this is just a very, very quick and dirty website. So on our form, I'm going to go ahead and do, I don't know, I guess I'll do Flexbox. So because I can, and we're going to do flex direction column. Okay, cool. So now we got breed, URL to image of breed, and we could also probably do our label. And see if this works in that direction. There. Okay, so now we've got breed URL to image of breed, and in an iPhone size screen, that's probably okay without getting into much of anything. Input, I don't really like the height. We're going to do, say, make it a little bigger. So 2 rem, so you have a nice big area to do it. And I don't really like that submit button. Background, I don't really like that. Doesn't even do anything in the background. It's horrible. Yeah, it's not working on the button. So actually the button is not inside of the label. That's the problem. So we're just gonna move that down. There, okay. That's happier. We're just gonna line block. We're gonna do line block doesn't even look right. That's horrible. So oh well, whatever. I'm not even gonna worry about that. My styling is not what I'm really coming here for. And we're gonna do a little bit of margin up because I don't like how close that is to that other button. We'll just space it out one rim and make the height 2 rim. Okay, so it looks a little bit more like something you might find on a web app or something. Probably could put a hover or something in there, but not a big deal. Second biggest thing is this dog is hanging off the edge. You only see his nose and you have to side scroll. Same thing with the German Shepherd. If you want to see more than half a dog, you have to side scroll. So typically what I'll do is I'll just do width 100%. That usually fixes most problems with that. And then no image found on the Chiweenie. So, but I still don't really like that article all that much. Probably in the dog card, we probably want to put a class name instead of our article. And I'm just going to call it dog card. And so now we're going to have dog card. Yeah, I guess if it's a dog card, we probably need to put a border around it. And I know some people don't really like borders all that much, but I'm a pretty boring person, so we're just going to do. And all right, cool. Then we'll do a little bit of margin. A little bit of margin around it. Kind of looks like a cardigan, and probably some padding. There we go. I also don't really like the button. Again, you'll find that I'm a little picky with my buttons. I kind of like the styling up here, but I don't know. Do we even need to have it inside of there? We can just make it so that all of them are correct. There. So now all the buttons look the same. So quick and dirty styling. If you'll notice, I did mobile first on this. So if we start moving out, you start running into some issues with that being a really, really, really bad example of a good good web page, because all of this stuff is just spread out so far. Let's kind of look. I think honestly, this ad breed and form need to be into their own article. is my guess. So that'll be another little change that we'll do. So on this return, we're just going to add this into a regular article. Okay, so now that should be grouped, and I don't really want that to have like the same margins and things around it like the German Shepherd does. But in the SCSS, we could probably start saying like max width and things like that in our article. So let's say this should work on both dog card and our add breed. So max width, we'll say 400 pixels sounds good. I don't know. This probably messes everything up. Let me go back over to this. Yeah, I guess it's okay on the phone mode. It's a Moto G4. We'll go down to even smaller. Let's look at that. iPhone 5, cute little thing. But as we go bigger, so now we can do that class container and put in like a flex box with a flex wrap, and it would probably work out okay. Let's take a look. So without even doing any breakpoints or anything, no media queries or anything, I think we're going to be able to make this an actual usable application. So yeah, so we're going to do our container, and we're going to do this as we're going to do this as display flex, and we're going to do flex wrap, wrap. I guess it's okay. Yeah, so it's a little weird. Let's go back over here and fix some of the alignment issues with this. So container, this is going to be, so we're in row. We want to do justify content center. It probably looks okay. As we make it bigger, that's kind of cool looking. Yeah. So now we have a responsive page that doesn't look completely.
That poor Chewini has no picture. It's not as bad as how many times we deleted the poor German Shepherd.
That poor creature got deleted so many times. All right. So, okay, I think that's pretty close to a decent way of doing it. So I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to go ahead and add this. I almost put git push origin Brian Haig. Oh, I'm losing my mind. All right, so let's go back over to this one. We're going to compare our styling. Create a pull request. Merge it. Yeah, that's fine. Confirm merge. All right, so it says successfully deployed. Let's visit the site, and it should already be up. Oh, it's got a Chewini, and that's it. What's wrong? No, why do we only have a Chewini?
What did you do?
I broke it.
Did you have HTTPS on those images?
Maybe.
No,
So we got add breed. We have a form, and that's so we've got add breed, and then we've got an article with Chewini, and it's only showing a Chewini. Oh no, I broke it. Let me refresh. Oh, there's only. Oh, somebody's been clicking delete dog.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe someone was on the deployed one.
Delete the Chewini. All right, you want to restart the server?
Yeah.
Oh,
If I can find it. Oh, there it is.
oh, the joys of having a public website that doesn't have any authentication or authorization.
Or actual seed data. Database, I mean.
Okay, so we're back to the German Shepherd. Let me copy the golden.
He's determined not to go anywhere. That's why he keeps coming back.
Yeah, he's the only one with any semblance of persistence. Oh, sorry. Submit dog. There we go. Okay, cool. So I think that's pretty much the end of the lecture. I can't think of anything else that I want to push in. We didn't want to do update because that's going to push us over on time by a lot, but we were going to do about a 30-minute Q&A. So you want to stop recording and then we'll do our Q&A?